Three Irishmen and two Americans walk into a bar, and you get the premiere episode of the Retro Zone Gaming Podcast. My name is Sean Malloy, and I'm with two of my usual members from the Alpha Zone Game. I got the man from the Emerald Isle himself, Mr. Ronan Fox.
What's happening, guys?
What's up, man? And I got the pride of the Grand Canyon State, Mr. Kent Kingsford.
Hooty hoo.
And bonus guests, I've got the retro gamer himself, Nisha O'Hare.
How's it going?
Oh, man. And I've also got the founder and special guest of the 8-Bit Gaming Convention, Mr. Graham Moore. What's going on, Graham?
How's it going, everyone?
Hey, buddy. So after much planning and much organization, we're in the first episode of the Retro Gaming Podcast. We are bringing our old format into something new. We want to talk about the world of retro games, what have made them so special over the years, what have made them so important on the evolution of games themselves, and where can we learn from retro games and build from here. I start the show every week by saying the same thing. We do this for the fun of it because we love games themselves, and I want to know what you guys are playing. Nisha, I'm going to bring you in first. What are you playing retro gaming wise these days?
I've been kind of hooked on Mario Kart 64 lately.
Okay.
I don't know why. It just, like, obviously it's a game I've constantly played and I've played through loads of times, but for some reason I started playing it about 2 weeks ago, and I've played it almost every day since.
So when you're playing Mario Kart 64, are you playing it solo? Are you playing with friends? Because as people know, like, there was no internet connection back in the Nintendo 64 days.
Yeah, I've just been playing it solo, but the lads are coming over on Saturday afternoon before the fight. The big fight.
Oh yeah.
We'll be doing a bit of multiplayer then, so that should be a bit of fun.
It should be cool, man. Is it and to you, is it still holding up over the years? Because now we have like Mario Kart 8, Mario Kart 8 Deluxe. We've had Double Dash. We've had 7 on handheld. How's this one stacking up still?
Yeah. I think it's amazing. Like, my favorite's Super Mario Kart. But,
all of them
on the SNES. But for some reason, I've just been hooked on 64. I don't know what it is. It's just been speaking to me.
Yeah. I think you're tapping into something like really important when it comes to retro gaming. It's like you can revisit these older games and still get this like elation from it. So that's great to hear, man. Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, keep us posted when it comes to what you're playing. Graham, you're the special guest, brother. I want to know what you're playing next.
Well, over the last couple of weeks, I've been trying my hand at Sonic, from Sonic 1 all the way back through to Sonic 3 and Knuckles.
Oh,
I'm telling you, I've never experienced such pain. Well, the pain from when I was a child came rushing back. Like, everyone thinks it's Sonic. It's a straightforward platform game. It's not. It will be the end of you.
Oh yeah.
I got through Sonic 1 in my first playthrough, which was very happy at. And it just kicked me in the ass, and I've tried it 3 times now, and I can't beat it.
That's my memory of having a Genesis as a kid, is playing Sonic 1, and then I had Sonic 2 on the Sega Game Gear. Like, the first handheld I ever owned was a Game Gear, and I never could get past. It was like the second world of that, when it actually goes from like a Green Hill Zone to like a cityscape, and I couldn't pass the second world growing up, and I've tried to revisit it through like different systems or just, like retro gaming conventions, and like I still can't, and there's something just like broken within my brain. I just cannot get past it. But you're 100% correct that Sonic is the most the basis of it is simple. It's again left to right platforming, but the speed and like the savagery that goes with just how lives work in that game, it's so impossible.
Absolutely. Like in Sonic 1, you can, it's easy enough to get a lot of continues and a lot of lives, and you can continue on the game like that. But when Sonic 2 hits, the level of bonus stage is so different and so hard compared to what Sonic 1 was, that those lives become gold dust to you. And if you don't hoard them in and actually play a little bit careful halfway through, you're never going to get through to the final past Robotnik at the end. It just doesn't happen.
Yeah. Yeah, I can't even remember like the boss of like Robotnik even from Sonic 1. It's like just so like entrenched back into my brain, where it's like post-traumatic stress disorder, where I just remember getting to that space and just getting pulverized over and over and over again, and like just never being able to get past it. So it's brutal, man. So yeah, it's cool that you're revisiting it. We're talking Sonic later in the show with the recent release of Sonic Mania. We'll get back to that franchise. Mr. Kent Kingsford, Mr. Arizona, what are we playing retro these days?
I have been playing Castlevania Symphony of the Night.
One of the all-time gems.
Yeah, I've been playing Castlevania Symphony of the Night, probably similar to how you've been playing Sonic.
Yeah.
Because my emulator will not save state. So I like rush through as much of the game as I can until I die.
Yeah.
And it's a testament to how bad I want to play that game, how good it is, that I just keep doing that, because I don't want to sit down and try and like reprogram any stuff inside of my my RetroPie. I'm being lazy,
Yeah.
but I love that game. It's just so deep, and it's honestly in my brain. It's how I always imagine a Castlevania game. Like when people talk about playing Castlevania, my fingers and my brain remembers Symphony of the Night. That's really how I feel like the apex of that series is.
Yeah, it's the reflex. You just remember like certain things about games. We discussed it on a previous show of that's my that's my memory of like Crash Bandicoot, is like you can actually remember like certain trails and like where to jump and how to jump, how to spin. And that's the same thing when I play Castlevania of the Night. I can remember like the map layout in my head of how everything is supposed to work and at what points you're going where. And I'm like, see, this game is just like scratching the itch. And so that's awesome, man. Like I know we talked about it. So like Symphony of the Night still holds up as one of the best in your eyes.
Oh, absolutely, no question. I mean, it probably doesn't hurt them that there hasn't been a decent Castlevania in a long time, but Symphony of the Night is pretty fantastic, man. It's one of the greats, no question.
Yeah, and Ronan, round out the Irish trifecta on your side. What are you playing retro style?
So I just want to go back to two games that the guys are playing. One, Mario Kart 64. Me and my son actually played that recently, and we had just the best time ever. And the great thing I feel about retro games is I turn around to my son and I ask him every retro game that we play together, what do you think of the graphics? And he says the same answer every single time. They're absolutely awesome. And like it makes me smile, because here's a game that's years old, that's after just getting through, you know, the systems that we have now and the graphics that we have now and the games that he plays, like, I mean, Rocket League, Minecraft, not so much because that has the retro style as well, but games that are just beyond realistic to this day and age. And for him to still turn around and say, these graphics are awesome in a game like Mario Kart, it just makes me smile. And I think it's a testament to that game that I think because the game is so fun, it doesn't matter what it looks like. The game it holds up so well. We had so much fun playing it. I mean, the pickups that you get, the fun that you have, and it's just like I said in previous shows that me and him play a lot of Rocket League, and it's the same feeling of just simplicity, fun, and it's everything that retro is about. And another one, Symphony of the Night, was a game that I actually played heading over to Vegas on my recent trip on the airplane. And one thing I want to say about that game that I think just it trounces everything else about the game, and that's the animation of the actual main character. I think the way he moves, the way he kind of ramps up speed as you press forward. It's not just a case where you press across and he just does a normal run. He ramps up that speed. Like there's a beautiful animation about that game, and I think the game holds up terrifically well. I think a lot of those 2D style games hold up terrifically well in this day and age. The game that I'm playing now is one that's close to Nisha's heart and a lot of gamers out there, and I actually never got an opportunity to play it, so I said I would play it for the YouTube channel, and that's The Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time. And so the story with this game is I have always been into fantasy settings, and I'm a huge fan of Lord of the Rings, Game of Thrones. I just love a good fantasy setting, and Zelda always interested me. It always kind of, I always looked at it from at the outside and said I know I would love that game if I ever got into it. And the thing I was worried about going into Ocarina of Time is sometimes in this day and age, 3D games don't hold up that well. But I think the N64 gets away with it for some reason. I think all of the N64 games, well, not all of them, but I would say 90% of them hold up better than, say, PS1 games. For whatever reason, for the simplicity of the art style, I don't know what it is, but I think just that style is, because you don't have too much going on the screen. I think it holds up. And I started that game, and the one thing that I can say about it is I actually feel like I'm on a fantasy adventure. I got stuck a couple of times, which I absolutely love. I love, as you guys know, I love my hard core games. I love my Dark Souls, my Demon
Hey
Souls.
man, don't
games.
rope me into this. That's your thing. Like I don't like getting my ass kicked all over the place. Like I like progress in my games.
But it's the mechanics in Ocarina of Time are so deep for when that game came out. I mean, I couldn't believe it when I was actually able to take out my slingshot, go into first person, and start hitting guys with a slingshot. And like to do that now in this day and age, it sounds silly. It's like, oh, so you can take out a slingshot in first person, like that's nothing new. But if you get your mindset into actually playing that game when it was first released, that was the thing that kept running through my mind. Is I can't even imagine playing this game for the first time ever. When one of the best moments that I've had in the game so far, and if you watch the screen, you'll kind of understand where I'm coming from, is when I went into Hyrule Field. I was just walking across it. I was trying to figure out where to go, and the next minute the sun started to go down, and I actually stopped and looked at the sun going down and seeing the sunset, and I'm just like, how ahead of its time was this game? It's ridiculous. It's blown me away, like it really has. Like I said before, I'm going to finish that game 100%. The full playthrough is going to be up. I am doing a internet help playthrough where I'm asking people like Nisha, who has helped me out a couple of times where I've got stuck, and I just want to experience that game as close to what it would be like if it came out, if I played it when it first came out. So that's my game, and to be honest with you, it'll be up there with one of my top games at the moment. It really is blowing me away, and I'm happy it is, because. And another thing is, I can't wait to try the new Zelda so I can compare to see how far the series has come.
Yeah, Nisha, you're helping Ronan along the way. Like, what was your first experience with Ocarina of Time?
A friend that I was in school with had it on the N64, and I can remember going down to his house and playing it.
Yeah,
And just I was completely blown away. And then I went. I don't know. I got it soon after that. I don't remember when I got it exactly. But I can remember the first time walking out onto Hyrule Field and just being like, "Oh my god, this is just unbelievable!" Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And going around, and I got stuck so many times. Like, obviously, it was before the internet, or I didn't have the internet at the time. And I was like using, Nintendo magazines to give you guides like that.
And
one each month, and I can remember getting stuck on the water temple, and literally I was using a guide in the magazine, and it finished just before that, so I had to wait like a month for this new magazine to come out just to figure out how to get past the next stage. But it's my favorite game, and I don't think anything will ever kind of compare to it for me. You know what I mean? Obviously, nostalgia is the big reason why I love it so much. But yeah, it was a friend. It was a friend in school.
For me, it's not nostalgia, and I think that's a testament to the game. Do you know what I mean? Like, I understand why it's your favorite game of all time. I can get myself into that headspace where you got that game for the first time back then. I can't imagine playing that, because I've been a gamer for a long time, and I have never experienced something like that up until, say, maybe Morrowind, and that's an Elder Scrolls game. Like, do you know what I mean? It was out years after Ocarina of Time. I think it holds up beautifully. I think anyone out there that hasn't at least given it a try, just give it a try, because you will see. The thing I like about it is you see so much used in Ocarina of Time for the first time that is still being used today. The open world, the mechanics of fighting. I mean, some elements remind me of Dark Souls, and it's a little bit weird comparing a Zelda nice friendly fantasy world with a Dark Souls game, but it really does. That sense of discovery, its difficulty, it is difficult at times, and I like that challenge. It's amazing.
Yeah. And Graham, were you a big Zelda person on the 64 growing up?
No, I will actually admit, kind of like Ronan, I've actually never played a Zelda game.
Okay.
I never had an N64 up to 2 months ago.
Okay.
Yeah, it was one console that kind of got away from me because same as the lads. Like I'm a huge fancy player, like both in games, movies, and pretty much a lot of things I do on the side. And I was hooked from the Nintendo days of Final Fantasy, and I've been hooked ever since. So Zelda came along, but for some unknown reason, I remember when I was a kid, it was like if I went to Zelda, it was like cheating on Final Fantasy.
Yeah.
Even though Zelda stayed Nintendo and Final Fantasy moved to PlayStation, but for some reason it just felt like the characters that I've developed this relationship with in Final Fantasy would know that I was talking to Link and everything, and they wouldn't like it.
You're cheating.
Cheating, basically, man.
Yeah, you're cheating on them. Okay, before I want to dive into the 8-bit conference you're organizing, is really quick. Favorite Final Fantasy growing up was what?
7.
Okay, the boys can't.
What favorite Final Fantasy?
Yes, sir.
You know what, man? I'm not a Final Fantasy guy. I'll just say I don't have a favorite.
Fair enough.
Nisha, favorite Final Fantasy?
The first Final Fantasy I ever played is my favorite, and it's Final Fantasy X.
Okay.
One of the lads got it on the PlayStation and said, "This is shit," and gave it to me.
Then you start yelling, and you're like, "This is not shit. You're shit." Like, get in my face. Yeah, Ronan, what was your favorite Final Fantasy growing up?
See, this is the beautiful thing about Final Fantasy. We all have different answers. For me, it's number 9. I love the quirkiness. I love the different art style. And number 9 for me, the characters I loved. It was a nice kind of friendly takeaway from the seriousness of 8. But I mean, I love Final Fantasy as well. I love 7, 8, 9. I actually love them all. I even like 12 as well. That is kind of, but there you go. Like Final Fantasy is that franchise that you're going to hate one of them and love another. That's the way I feel about Final Fantasy anyway.
Yeah, I agree. Like growing up, for some reason, my favorite was 8 because that was the first game I can ever remember playing over multiple discs. And that blew my brain as a kid. It was, wait, hold on a second. Like take out disc 1 at the end of like this really good plot point and insert disc 2. It's like it's like movies. Like you get the sequel like right away. You don't have to wait for it. It's just like a whole new story like right then. And yeah, it's not people's favorite Final Fantasy, but as an 8-9-year-old being able to run around as this guy in a bomber jacket with a huge sword that's also doubles as a gun, it just blew my mind, man. I'm like, this is the craziest shit I've ever seen.
As well.
Yeah, this is the craziest thing. It's a gun sword. But yeah, so yeah, that's a really good discussion. Thanks, boys, for having that with me. Graham, the floor's going to be yours, man. You're organizing the 8-bit conference. I want you to just pimp this thing out as much as possible right now. What can the fans expect from this show? Also, where and the times and the days and all that stuff.
Yeah, no worries. Well, first of all, the event itself is on the 21st and 22nd of October this year.
Okay.
It's the first of its kind, first dedicated retro gaming conference in Ireland. Basically, a bit of a background. I come from an events management perspective. I've been doing a lot of large kind of charity gigs and stuff like that over the last few years. And then also I've had management sales skills and stuff. And I've always, like everyone else here, had a massive interest in retro games and continued to play them for years. And I was actually sitting down, believe it or not, in a pub with the missus. And we were at a pass. It was like, there's something we need to do, and it was like, what do we love? What are we good at? What can we bring to fans of the same type things that we grown up loving? Yeah. And we came straight to a retro game conference.
Cool.
And from there, basically, in a very, very short amount of time, 8-bit conference was born. And I mean short, meaning basically within a week we had the website up and running. We had believe it or not, 10th of July is when 8-bit conference was born.
Cool.
Oh. And so it's literally been an absolute mad run. I've got a great team behind me. A lot of collectors and event managers themselves, and a fantastic digital artist, and also Geek Ireland are involved for the cosplay. So they're gonna run and get all the Irish cosplays involved and everything like that. So that's gonna be brilliant in itself. But the event itself, you can expect make the event about is we want to make it an experience. We don't want people to come into the event and kind of go, right, look, that was fun, and walk out the door an hour later. We want people to be able to come in from 9 o'clock and leave at 5 o'clock and go, I want more. Yeah. And that's the main kind of bulk of what we want to do. We want to make it sustainable. We want to make retro gaming sustainable and grow it with as much collaboration and partnerships within the industry as we can. And I suppose a testament to who we are as gamers, especially I'm finding over here in Ireland, is the community is phenomenal. And I mean absolutely phenomenal. People are knocking at my door left, right, and center saying, look, can we help you with this? Can we help you with that? We've got TVs, we've got consoles, we've got games, we're a band, we'll sing for you for free, we'll do everything. Cool. It's been not a word of a lie, it's been a bit of emotional as well because of the amount of response we're getting from everybody. And we couldn't be putting something like this on in short amount of time without the community being involved, and it's just phenomenal. But I suppose the event itself, we're going to have outside entertainment for when you arrive. So that's for families. It's in Griffith College, Dublin, which is a heritage spot within Dublin city centre. We're going to be expecting about over the course of the 2 days about 1,500 to 1,700 people.
Cool.
Yeah, and we're going to have outdoor entertainment for when people arrive. That includes a band, which I won't mention as of yet.
Okay. I was trying to
talks, but yeah. Well, we've got. Actually, this is the first. Actually, well, here's a little scoop because I suppose it's the first time we can mention it now because we just signed a contract today. But we are now officially partners with FM104, which is Ireland's biggest radio station.
Cool.
Oh, awesome. Congratulations. That's huge, man. Yeah, it's great.
So they're going to, I'll talk about them in a minute because they're bringing a lot to the event as well. So, but just to give an idea of what the event entails, we're going to have a lot of vendors, some large vendors, some small vendors, selling all types of merchandise from creative parts themselves to apparel to video games to consoles to basically the broad range of everything retro.
Yeah.
And that's going to run. Those booths are going to run throughout the day. We're going to have obviously the cosplay characters running around. They're all going to be dressed with Sonic and Mario and hopefully Metroid and a few others like that. A bit different. We don't want to we want to keep to the retro style of the event. So we're going to try to keep it as retro. No Overwatch. Yeah. We're not even in Minecraft. But then, yeah, we also have at the back of the room, it's a very large area that we have. And at the very back of the room, we're going to have 6 daily tournaments.
Okay.
We're going to have 2 speed runs. So we're going to have Super Mario Brothers for 200 rings. And we're going, cool. Yeah, and we're going to have, I don't know if I remember the second one, Donkey Kong.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. So we're going to have those 2 speed runs, and then we're going to have 4 32-player tournament competitions with Super Smash Bros, Street Fighter 2, Turbo, oh my god, my mind's gone blank now. Tekken.
Like the original Tekken?
The original Tekken, yeah.
Okay. Nice.
Yeah, that's our PlayStation 1 lead-in.
Jack all day, baby. Like, sign me up. Like, I'll rock it.
Yeah. And seeing I was saying there, Mario 64. So that's going to be a Mario game. And there's one escaping me now. I can't remember what it is now.
I'm sure no one's going to fault you for that. I think you just rattled off 6 and you were talking like 10 minutes straight about your awesome event. So, yeah, my next question is, you guys are setting up like this event like from really like this grassroots upbringing for like the love of retro gaming and the want to bring a community together. So as this idea has expanded, like where do you see the show going in the future? I know it hasn't even happened yet, but what's the ultimate goal of the show? Yeah.
Well, as I said, like our main thing is we want to make it sustainable and we want to grow it within the community with the community. So what we're looking at is we're going to diversify the 8-bit brand into gaming tournaments, and we're going to hopefully make a inter-county championships but that's later down the line. We're going to have hopefully an event now in Galway in March next year. And then obviously double the size of the event we're having next year. Excellent. And then we'll go to 3 the year after, and then we'll have a look at and see where we're at that point. But in the meantime, between now and then, we'll be looking at kind of other events and other ways of getting the names out there, and working with other people like Nisha and stuff like that to help within the country and make it something successful and interesting for everyone.
Definitely. You introed Nisha right there. Nisha, what's your role within the 8-bit conference itself? Like, what are you bringing?
I'm not going. I'm going to be in South Africa.
He's not here.
He's like, just my name. I'm just bringing in my name, a brand.
I have to say, I'm honest to God, I'm so good at it, I can't go. When I was approached about it, I was like, I'm definitely going to be a part of this. Like, and then I got the dates, and I was like, oh man, I'm going to a wedding in South Africa with my girlfriend, and it's on. When I'm only gone for a week. It's the only week out of the whole year that I'll be out of the country,
and it's that week.
And it's that week.
So. Yeah, I'll frame the question a little bit different, because you're on the show and there's no secret of like how big of a following that you have, like when it comes to retro gaming. Like, what excites you about the 8-bit conference itself?
I think just like, first of all, the idea, it's made by a bunch of gamers, you know what I mean? Like all the guys like Graham, and I've also been talking to a guy, Paddy Toner. Everyone just seems to be it's pure love of gaming, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's again, because obviously it's all purely retro as well, so you'll have like fanatics, the likes of myself, who like are just mad about retro gaming. I think it's an amazing thing to happen to the Irish gaming community, and I can't make this one, but the likes of the one in March, I'll definitely be hitting up that, and hopefully I can be involved with every other event that happens, because I think this is going to be something big. I think this is the start of something really big.
Yeah, I just want to give my perspective from like being here in the States and like being friends with Ronan over the years. It's when it came to GamerCon, even though that was like pretty much a disaster across the board, like internationally reported on, this upswelling of gamer love and fandom is like hitting this great rise in Ireland. It's like something I've never seen before. So what do you guys like attribute to this growing like popularity of retro gaming and gaming success like in Ireland?
I think for retro gaming, it's people who like all my friends slag me and say my favorite word is nostalgia, because I say it all the time. But it's getting to that stage where it's super nostalgic for everyone nowadays. Like when you're like, I'm 30 years old, so like it's bit like everyone's kind of getting back into it, and that popularity has just where everyone kind of talking about it, you know what I mean? Everyone kind of new gets in, but it's not just older people. There's younger people who are into it now as well. Well, like one of my friends' daughters, she's only around like 10 or 15. I don't know. She's young, but her favorite console is the N64. Like, she obviously grew up during the time of the PS3 and whatever. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so it's I'm kind of like, I don't know. I think it's the fact that it's not just when people think of retro gaming, they think of older people,
right?
So like as in older dudes, you know what I mean? But it's now turned into a thing where it's kids are getting involved, people of all ages are getting involved, and it's just completely broadened the retro community. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Which is just escalating and lifting it higher.
Well, I think it shows the testament of how these games hold up as well. I mean, you can play any of those N64 games and have a good time, and you don't feel like you're playing something that's totally ancient. Like I said earlier on, my son can play those games and he thinks they look gorgeous, and I think that's a testament to it. Going back to what you said, Sean, about why do you think it's got so popular in the last while? I think it's always been underlying in this country. It just needed to be brought to the forefront. I think as bad as the situation was with GamerCon, I think it actually showed everybody that gaming is a huge interest in this country. I mean, there was
That's how
people
I read the entire
slamming on the
situation.
doors trying to get into the
Yeah,
bloody
yeah.
place. Like, do you know what I mean? And I think, like, before GamerCon, there was nothing really. There was Comic-Con and there was a few small conventions, but since GamerCon, it was a disaster. And, you know, but I think you have to give them some credit because they took the risk in doing it. And yes, it was a failure, but it also opened up, you know, like I think there's 4 events this year, which is ridiculous, and we're over halfway through this year. Like, what's going to happen next year? And I think it's a great time for the likes of Epic Gaming to start and build this franchise, because I think now is the time to do it. I think with Epic Gaming, I think you're right at the starting line, and I think in 2 or 3 years' time, if it's a case that you're pulling off these tournaments, you know, you're coming to each city. Galway is one of my favorite cities in Ireland. I lived there for 2 years. I will 100% be going to Epic Gaming in Galway. I think it's an amazing city, and I think it's got enough. You know, there's 2 colleges in Galway, and when you have college, you have games, because that's literally all I did in college was play video games, mostly Final Fantasy.
Yeah.
I think
He
you're
was a
at the
nerd
start.
by himself.
I think you're at the start of something great here. And with retro, whether it's retro gaming, whether it's modern gaming, I think it's gaming as a whole, and it's great that we can look back 20 years ago and still have these games hold up today.
Well, and
like,
like kind of piggyback off what Ronan said, like I think it's a microcosm for the gaming industry at large, like, and for retro gaming at large, is like, you know, it's a unique kind of point in history where you've got like a lot of people, like I would say, I don't know about you guys, but my parents didn't play video games. That wasn't their thing. That wasn't their age group. But a lot of the Generation X people, you would consider it, you know, they grew up with video games, and so they want to revisit that from a nostalgia standpoint, and also from an entry point, right? Like it's really intimidating if you grew up playing with a Nintendo or a Super Nintendo controller to pick up a PlayStation 4 controller now and try to approach that. Yeah. But you've got all these great memories and all this muscle memory, and you can go back and enjoy some of those old games. And I think that's why you see stuff like the Retron 5 and a lot of these retro consoles coming back, and emulation, you know, with the Raspberry Pi has sort of kickstarted that. And so it's kind of just a unique circumstance where a lot of things have kind of come together in a timing way that it works out really fantastically. And I think it works out great for you guys in Ireland, especially because I think, you know, it might just be a case of people tend to think of the U.S. as just a big, gigantic country and shit's always going on here. But the way the U.S. is sort of spread out is that each state
accurate, though.
Each state has like its own little things going on, and so people tend to lump the U.S. together, and that's not accurate. The U.S. has like a bunch of little states and a bunch of little things going on. You can see that in pockets here in the U.S. in places where a convention would have, you know, never went to a place like Nebraska, and now people are thinking of going to places like that because they see that there's this passion, and it's I think it kind of starts with recognizing those games as an art form, you know?
Yeah. I mean, it's a great point. Graham, any last bit to add before we move on to a couple of news topics on 8-Bit?
No, I suppose just there's a few other elements that will be there on attendance. Just for example, there's going to be like 6 panels throughout the day, and they're going to be game developers, they're going to be collectors, they're going to be debates, Sega versus Nintendo, old versus new.
That is cool. Yeah.
They're all there. There's about 6 a day. They're going to broad and different topics. We're also going to have obviously an artist alley for obviously artists and stuff like that. Then we also have a kind of a tech demo room where we're going to have a lot of old tech stuff that I can't really announce properly yet, but a lot of kind of things that people will be very happy overseeing. Let me put it that way.
Yeah, that's cool, man.
From the retro gamer side of things. But and there's so much more going on. So much more going on.
I love it. Like, it sounds insanely exciting. I wish I was over there. 90% of all of my relatives like live on the island, so it's like it's a twist of the knife, knowing like I'm not there and like this event's going on and being with you guys. And so like my heartfelt like congratulations for the organization, and we wish nothing but the best. And you'll be hearing us from the show advertise it up, because there's very few opportunities that we as the Alpha Zone Gaming Cast can actually like partner with and try to put out and match brands and partner and really promote something that we feel that's important to the gaming community as well as just people all over. So cheers to you, man. This sounds incredibly awesome.
Thanks.
Yep. Moving on to a couple.
Proud.
Yeah. Well, yeah, dude. I mean, you're already doing like the community at large proud. So good luck, and I'm sure your stress level is only going to go higher and higher as you get closer. So hopefully, once that's done, you can go like back to the pub you thought of the idea in and have a sip and just like realize that this was a great event, man. So yeah, really congratulations for this. Is going to be great. A couple of news items, really quick. So Sonic Mania is another game in a series of a throwback retro style that's been coming out, made by fans of Sonic the Hedgehog itself for them, for a new audience. The reviews have come out and it's really overwhelmingly positive. Right now it's 88% on Metacritic itself. And a couple of questions I want to ask the panel here. I want to know, like, to you guys, is this a good game or is this just a good Sonic game? Because there's been so much of just Sonic lives in this hyperbolic chamber of, yeah, it was good for the time because this was Sega's answer to Mario and you want to go fast, and you had the advertising of coming out that we want this badass character, and it's been specifically highlighted in books such as Console Wars by Blake Harris and Seth Rogen. And so this back and forth is just really interesting to watch, and how this character has resonated.
This is an interesting development with this game.
Yeah.
I think it's been in development for an awful long time, and a lot of people in the last 10 years particularly seem to give Sonic a really bad rap. I mean, it's always been compared to Mario, which is, it's fair. They came out, they were rivals for a long time, but I think to call Sonic a bad game it's a little bit harsh. I think it's definitely different, and it's not as solid of a platformer that Mario is. But I mean, if you look at the two of them, so straight off, who looks the coolest? I think Sonic looks the coolest. He's more appealing to kids than a plumber, say. Now, that's not to say the design of Mario is bad, but it's one thing that I think that Sonic has ahead of Mario is the design. Gameplay wise, a lot of people play Sonic and they just try and rush through the levels. They try and get as much momentum up as possible. When that momentum is stopped, it kind of breaks their gameplay. Sonic is actually a really good game if you explore the levels. There's a lot of hidden paths. There's a lot of areas that you wouldn't find if you were just zooming through. And I think it's easy to say a game is bad when the last 10 iterations of that game have been bad. But I mean, Sonic 2 is amazing. I always loved Sonic 2. It's one of the games that I feel like I always had. When I was able to play games, I felt like that game was the one that I always played, probably played the most in my life.
Yeah.
And I played Sonic Mania, and it's the best throwback to an old school game that I have ever seen. The fact that they keep the graphics the same, they keep a lot of the levels designed the same, and they do enough differently. It's like a remix. Whatever they do after level 1, it kind of remixes the formula, and it remixes the music, and it gives you that nostalgic feeling, but it makes you feel like this is something new you're playing as well. I think Sonic it's a good game. It's not a masterpiece by any means, but it's not a bad game. And I think for the last 10 years, it has been getting a bad rap. And it felt like every show that I listened to, every podcast I listened to, it was, like Sonic isn't, it was a running joke for a long time that Sonic wasn't a good game. And it kind of hurt me a couple of times when I heard it. I was like, but I love Sonic. Sonic was, it was my childhood game that I played the most. Sonic Mania is a testament to that game. I think it's so well made. The fact that it's made by fans, the fact that Sega had the brains just to hand it off, let fans of Sonic make this game. It did it so much justice, and I'm so happy that it's getting so well reviewed.
Yeah, Kent, what do you think, man? We haven't heard your voice in a while. Yeah.
Oh, you go ahead.
No, I was going to throw it to you. We haven't heard your voice in a while.
I think that the comparison of Sonic to Mario it's a good comparison historically, and it's a good comparison from their position marketing wise. but as a game, they're not really comparable. You know, they're totally different ethos, they're totally different gameplay loop. They really try to do something different with Sonic. And you know, when someone falls short of Mario, to call it bad, I think is a little aggressive. Mario has been such a leader in this industry for so long. Like, it's almost kind of a running joke about Nintendo. Like, when are they going to make some new games? They just keep making the same games over and over again. But I mean, you know, they've got their situation dialed and they know what they're doing. And I think we went through a period with Sonic where you had a lot of people making Sonic games who didn't appreciate the original Sonic, and I think kind of believed themselves that Sonic wasn't really that great of a game. If you understand why people like that game in the first place, if you understand what's great about that game, I think Sonic Mania kind of proves that there's a lot of great stuff in there. And if you really go back to when Sonic came out, it was extremely unique. They took a completely different approach to compete with Mario, whereas most people, to sort of go heads up with Nintendo, made a direct Mario ripoff. You know, one of my favorite games growing up as a kid, being a TurboGrafx kid, is Bonk's Adventure. Bonk's Adventure is more of a direct run at the gameplay loop of Mario. I think it's a good game. I enjoy it, but it's definitely meant to be a Mario knock. And I think, you know, Sega did a much better job of doing something sort of unique and innovative when they did Sonic.
Yeah. Graham, you're the most recent player of like Sonic with us. Have you got a chance to dive into Sonic Mania yet and really like kick the tires on that thing?
Yeah, I actually, because I knew we were going to speak about it now, so I actually finished it last night.
Okay,
nice.
And I am just blown away from it. Like, I've been waiting since Sonic 3 and Knuckles for a good Sonic game. Now, not saying I know Generations and Colors were okay along the way, but obviously there was a lot of problems, and you know, from the US side of things and the Japanese side of things and crossovers and stuff. But all that aside, what Christian Whitehead and the lads have done is basically a love letter to all Sonic fans. And I've been a Sonic fan more than Mario since since the iteration. Like, and it's like starting off Green Hill Zone, it brings you straight back to Sonic 1.
Yep.
But then as soon as you start delving into it, the levels are just 4 or 5 times bigger, and they just expand on what you loved about Sonic in the first place. And I thoroughly enjoyed it. I'm on my second playthrough now, trying to get all the Chaos Emeralds, the bonus levels, the blue balls. I absolutely love them, but they kill me at the same time because they're so difficult.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
I have to say the one thing I am absolutely love about the game, and that goes to Lee Topes, the music producer of the game, absolutely phenomenal.
Yeah,
the music in Sonic Mania is amazing, especially I think it's the third last level, Metallic Mayhem. Just YouTube that song, Metallic Mayhem Act 1, and you'll just know exactly what I'm talking about. It's phenomenal.
That's awesome, man.
It really is.
Nisha, have you been able to dive into Sonic Mania at all?
Not yet. I had actually given my friend Steve a lend of my Nintendo Switch to play Breath of the Wild.
Okay.
So I actually only got it back off from yesterday, and so I'm gonna download it hopefully over the weekend and give it a go.
Yeah, man. Report back like what you guys are thinking. I'm gonna transfer that like right into another Nintendo story. The Super Nintendo Classic went up for pre-order kind of earlier this week. In the States, it was 2:00 a.m. Pacific time. European folks had a better crack at it. It's 10 a.m. your local time. So this created like this firestorm across like the internet itself, as well as like gaming culture. You have sites such as Kotaku and IGN, Kind of Funny, and a GameSpot reporting how this was an unfair thing for Nintendo to do, to put these pre-orders up in the middle of the night when most of us were asleep. I have a quote here that Nintendo is nothing but a anti-consumer company, and they deserve to be punished by not purchasing their products. End quote. I want to know your guys' take on this. The Super Nintendo Classic is 20 of the best, arguably best games of all time. Has any of us actually have any of us gotten a pre-order like in whatsoever?
Yeah.
Nisha, you got one?
Yeah. Like
you bastard.
A few months ago, and I heard they were coming, or it was coming online. And I literally I was at work and I walked into GameStop after work, real casual. It wasn't queues of people, and I said, "Can I pre-book?" And he said, "Yeah, here's a $5," and that was it. Like,
what? That is yeah. So
now, this was ages ago. You know, it wasn't
right.
recently. I know because I did see online there was hysteria online like the other night when it went. But this was a few months ago. I don't know. I think we obviously got it a lot earlier. So yeah, I just heard the next day. Now when I went in, the guy had said that all first day orders were gone. So I don't know actually when I'll get one. But I'll be just happy to get one eventually.
Yeah, and the European one is the cool like Famicom version, right? Not the top loader.
Yeah. It is the Famicom style. Yeah.
See, man, you got one, and it's the cooler version, so whatever. Yeah, but I want to really talk about like get into the heart of this, of like this idea that it's anti-consumer to do a limited run of these consoles because there's clearly the demand is a lot higher than the actual supply. Is this fair for Nintendo to do this again, just like the NES Classic last year?
Well, they're a toy company, and people forget that. People fall in love with them for their video games, and I don't know if it's a problem on Nintendo's end or maybe a problem on consumers' end or a little bit of both, but toy companies are notoriously grimy. This is how toy companies do people. And so is it anti-consumer? Yeah, it's anti-consumer. It's how every toy company operates. They create artificial demand. I mean, if you think back what every toy company wants to be, their Super Bowl as a toy company is to have housewives fist fighting over a product on Black Friday on the news. If two housewives could fist fight over a Tickle Me Elmo and it makes national news in the States, that's a win. And you got to think about the mindset it takes to sell kids a product, to be a toy maker, and that's a win for you. It's super cutthroat marketing, super cutthroat industry. And so, you know, it's kind of funny to see people come full circle because you guys know doing the Alpha Zone with me, I arrived at this position months ago. I said, they're going to do people dirty. They're going to do their typical toy stuff. And I've decided I'm not going to participate in that fucking game this time. So I went and built a RetroPie and I made it look like a miniature Super Nintendo. And I'm super thrilled with it. And I'll leave it at that. And I encourage anybody who's out there, and if you're salty about trying to get a Super Nintendo Classic, most people think that you can't get Star Fox 2. The emulator is out there in space. I have it on my RetroPie now. You can play all those games. If you really feel like Nintendo's doing you grimy, don't give them the money, you know? Right. They've been much better about the Switch, I think. And so I think that's why it catches people off guard. And the Wii U, obviously, they never had these problems, really, for the most part, because nobody wanted the Wii U, which is a shame because it was a good console. Well, but you know, the whole thing with the Super Nintendo and the Nintendo Classic is it's creating artificial demand, and they're doing it on purpose. And you know, you can scream at the heavens, but they don't care. That's how they do business, you know.
Yeah, Ro, what do you think?
I feel sorry for the people that actually want this system and have to go and pay double the amount of retail. That's where it fails for me. I think the fact that they came out first and said, you won't have to worry, you're going to get one. And I rang GameStop because when I was on Tanisha talking about, is this going to be the same situation? And you said, no, I was able to pre-order. So I rang and I actually pre-ordered one as well, luckily enough. Cool. Now, Nisha was able to pay 5 off. I was actually told I have to pay 50 quid off for some reason. There was a change somewhere along the line, or it's just the GameStop in my hometown is ridiculous rules and regulations or whatever it is. But for me, the problem is when the NES Classic came out, everyone was crazy about it. And then you've seen so many of these systems being bought and then being put back up on like buy and sell sites for triple the price. That's where that's for me that's where I get a little bit sour over it. There's no reason why they can't make enough of these things. They know the demand is there. But to me, it's the consumer that fails. It's nobody else.
Yeah. And Graham, any thoughts about the Super Nintendo Classic and the pre-order situation?
Yeah, it's the same as the lad said. Like, you know, am I happy about it? No. You know, is it going to really affect me personally? Probably not. But the fact of, like, so I think he was probably aware, ThinkGeek, you know, adding in a little Mario thing and charging 3 times the value just to get things. I think that's disgraceful. I think that's absolutely anti-consumer, and I think they should be pulled up on that. But outside of that, just, you know, it is what it is, unfortunately.
Yeah, I mean, everyone on the panels, like so far, has like said it perfectly. I think it's anti-consumer to the part where they know the supply, like what they need to supply everybody, and they're withholding some, or they're not producing as many. I also, the part that I really, really engage with is this idea of buying multiple only to put them on eBay and other buy and sell sites just to jack up the prices and hurt the people that actually want these systems in their home to play and relive this sense of nostalgia, to use Nisha's word, or to use them as a display piece, or do whatever you want with them. But the only person that's getting hurt in this situation are the gamers that actually want to sit there and actually play the games. And I think that's where the big fault of Nintendo is. I forget who brought up the Nintendo Switch, but there's this other business mentality that Nintendo undoubtedly will have the two hottest things on store shelves coming Christmas time. Is you're going for the nostalgia with the SNES Classic, and you're going with the new toy with the Nintendo Switch. You can control the market by supplying however you want. I think there's going to be just an incredible lack of both on store shelves, which is going to drive demand even higher. And who's going to actually like look good in this situation is Kent. You brought up like the two moms fist fighting. They're going to be fist fighting for Nintendo Switches. They're going to be fist fighting for NES Classics. And I think this is going to be like the big problem. And this is why I don't participate in this practice. I tried my hand at getting NES Classic and I didn't. And I just had to kind of bite the bullet. I'm like, okay, so I'm never going to own this, and that's okay. And then I have to go back and look at, like my 3DS I have sitting in a drawer somewhere. How many of these games can I actually download for $4 or $5 like a piece, and actually like build up the catalog that way? And it does, remove some of the pain of not being able to get it. But at the same time, I try to logically put together, I'm like, okay, so I have it as a handheld. I'm not stuck in front of the TV. I try to justify it that way. But I'm not going to sit here and say like I wasn't disappointed by hearing that the SNES Classic was sold out by 4 a.m. like US time. Like that's the part where I have an issue with. So yeah.
Well, and there's another aspect of this that's that's pretty anti-consumer that I think people have forgotten about, is that you ask yourself, knowing how well Virtual Console did on the Wii U and knowing how well Virtual Console did on the Wii from a business standpoint, does anybody think it's really an accident that there's no Virtual Console available on the Switch until a future date? And that future date is guaranteed to be after, this console releases. And, the question is this going to continue? Are they going to do an N64 Classic and sort of start this rotation all over again? So, I mean, there's definitely some aspects of it that I think are kind of grimy. The truth of the matter is I think that people have kind of sunk into this mindset with Nintendo, and Nintendo maybe souring their own well, that people buy Nintendo systems for Nintendo exclusives and they don't really bother with the rest. And if you block them from getting some of the classic stuff, and you block them from, whichever your method, whether it's this little console or it's the Virtual Console, are you really doing yourself any favors business wise? Or are you just sending people out like me to go build an emulator, or go download emulators for your PC? I mean, if you already got a PC, you can have a PC that will run damn near nothing else, and it'll run emulators, because even a $90 PC at this point will run an emulator,
Yeah. I think it's a really interesting topic to discuss. I think there's only going to be more fervor when we reach closer to the launch date next month and the subsequent time after that. So I actually want to spin off of this kind of negative topic into something kind of fun and goofy to wrap up the show. If people listening and watching have seen episodes of the Alpha Zone before, they know I like to wrap up every episode with one random question I think of. I'm going to keep it retro themed and ask the audience here, what's the one retro game that we've always loved, knowing it's a bit shit? And I see Nisha looking at this book. So, Graham, I want you first, man. What's a game that you've loved that you've known is a bit shit?
I'm not a big PC gamer by any stretch of the means, but there is one game released probably about 30 years or 20 years ago now, Mortar. Not like the Lord of the Rings, but it's a dungeon crawler, and it's absolutely awful. Its frame rates are terrible. You fall through walls, you die for no reason, and you're just back and forth, just getting deeper and deeper into the dungeon. But for some reason, I love it, and I love it so much that I got in contact with the man David Allen, who created Artifacts Interactive, I think it is. He actually made it. I sent him an email, and he actually sent me a new code, so now we can play it again. And I've been playing for the last 5 days.
That's awesome. Yeah.
But it's awful.
Yeah. It's awful. Kent, one retro game that you love, but you know it's shit.
So I'm going to go back to the PS1, Thrasher, Skate and Destroy. Anyone who's a fan of our other show, you know that I love skateboarding games. I love my skateboarding games. That's what I grew up doing.
Yeah.
Thrasher, Skate and Destroy is garbage. It's barely playable at times. But when that game came out, I sat down and put that into my PlayStation, and that was like, oh, dude, I can skateboard on the TV now. And it did have some really neat, realistic elements. And so I really enjoyed that game. I have very fond memories of that game, even though some of those fond memories are hurling a controller at the TV screen, which you can't do anymore because now they're all delicate and flat screen. But like the old big glass ones where you could bounce a controller off of the TV and it didn't matter.
800-pound monstrosities.
Yeah. And so that's my pick, man. Thrasher, Skate and Destroy. If you hate yourself and you love skateboarding, you should go play that.
Nisha, you're up.
I not one that I've always played, but I recently got, and even the guy that was selling to me said this game is shit, don't buy it.
Yeah.
And it's Time Lord for the NES.
Okay.
I really enjoy it. Like I bought it at Comic-Con from one of the guys from Player One. It's a video game shop in Ireland. And he was like, don't buy that. You don't want this. But I was just looking at the box. And the box was just speaking to me. I was like, this just looks cool. And he was like, it's shit. And I said, oh, I'm going to buy it. I'm going to buy it anyway. And I played it when I got home. And it's deadly. I really enjoy it. Like,
cool, man. That's what like the source of the topic is. It's like those type of experiences that you kind of like tap into. You're like, hey, that's okay. I like this. Like, don't try to dissuade me from this one. Ronan, you're up.
So my game is a movie tie-in, and
Superman 64.
That's already rich.
That was top of the list, but that was up there. But I want to go with something a little bit different. A game my mother worked in a video store when we were younger, and there was one game there all the time that we just kept getting, and I think it's because of the difficulty. It was The Crow City of Angels. Has anyone played this game?
What? No, I didn't know they made a game for that.
So yeah, we didn't need the game for the first one, but we ended up getting a game for the sequel as well. It's put down as a as a 3D fighting game, but it's the most lied advertisement you will ever come across. It's 2D with 3D objects on the screen. The mechanics are an absolute joke. To try and fight people, it's like square could be to hit someone, but it's not going to do it. You're not going to be able to hit them. It's just it's fluke if you hit them, and you end up dying 90% of the time in the first area. And for whatever reason, me and my brother, we'd always kind of look, because the fact that my ma worked in the video store, we'd have every game played, and we'd always kind of look through the games. And we'd come across The Crow, and we're like, we're going to get it again, aren't we? We're going with The Crow again tonight to try and get by the first level. And it's just a great memory I have with my brother.
Did you ever get past the first level?
No, we never got by the first level.
That is your Michael Jackson moonwalker right there.
Yeah, it wants you to fail. It wants you to fail.
Yeah, see, what's funny is like before we recorded the show, for a little like inside baseball, is I said what I was going to do, but now I want to switch it because Ronan, you brought up something like
Superman 64.
No, I'm switching it up. So I'm actually going to talk about like a Star Wars Masters of Terrakasi, which is the the PlayStation 1 Star Wars Street Fighter clone, where I haven't played it since 1997, but in my mind, it is the coolest game I've ever seen, because it was the first time where I can have Luke Skywalker and Darth Vader bust out their lightsabers and fight each other.
It's like a 1-versus-1 beat 'em up, isn't it?
Yeah, no, it's a fighter game.
It's like a Tekken ripoff almost.
It's 100% a Tekken rip, but nothing works. And so it's Boba Fett has his blaster and a jetpack, but he can't float, so he just walks left and right, and his blaster doesn't work, and the lightsabers can like pass through characters without actually like giving them damage, and it is just such a shitty game. And it's anytime I see someone like a website create a list of like the top 10 like worst games, and it's on there, I'm like, yeah, it is. Like, I love that game so much. So I just know, man. So Yeah, with that, we're gonna get out of here in a decent time, boys. Before we do official sign-offs, Graham, I want you to plug away at 8-Bit again. Where can people find more information about it? Where can they get in contact with you if they see so to be necessary? Yeah, have at it.
Yeah, absolutely. The website is straightforward, 8bitconference.com, Facebook page /8bitconference. You can contact me on email at Graeme, Graeme, at 8bitconference.com. Again, it's on 21st, 22nd of October in Griffith College this year. And just come on down. Trust me, you're going to bring your friends, family, kids. You know, it's going to be a fantastic day, fantastic weekend.
You're great, man. Cheers, man. Thanks for being on. Kent, where can people find you?
People can find me, as always, at Squirp, SQU1RP. You can find me there pretty much everywhere at that. I do want to kind of preface that a little bit by saying if you go on my Instagram, it's all guns because that is my other passion. So fair warning, don't get triggered. Pun intended. The other thing that I want to warn people is if you add me on PlayStation, I have had a rash of bots lately, which is extremely entertaining because you can say whatever you want to them and they respond the same. But if you actually want to play video games with me, tell me you added me from the Retro Zone or the Alpha Zone so that I know.
Yeah, exactly. Nisha, where can people find you? Plug away, sir.
My blog website is retrogamerireland.com. It's pretty simple, and it has links to all social media on there.
Cool, man. And Ronan?
So, yeah, just before I go, I just want to say thanks a million to Graham for coming on. You're welcome whenever you want to jump on again. Hopefully we can get you on after the show and we can talk and see where this thing is going in the future. So this has been our first episode, and I'm kind of happy with the way it went. I'm looking forward to episode 2 already. If you go over to the Twitter, at the AlphaCast is our main Twitter page. I run a lot of playthroughs and guides and a bit of everything on the YouTube channel. So catch us there on the Alpha Zone Gaming, and the Instagram is just Alpha Zone Gaming. And thanks for everyone for checking in, and catch you soon.
Yeah. Oh shit! I forgot one topic really quick. Mayweather McGregor on Saturday.
Yes.
How are we feeling about it, boys?
Just one little topic.
Yes. So we're all Team McGregor, right? We're all on board.
McGregor round 1.
Yeah, I've got him in the 3rd round.
I'm going for round 2.
If you can't get him in the first 3 rounds, it's going to be a rough night for McGregor. Mayweather he's a stick and move. He's very hard to hit. And I mean, Nisha, you've been in the sport before. You know what Mayweather's like. He doesn't have heavy hands, but he can move. And I mean, we've seen him against one of the fastest boxers in the world, Pacquiao, and he absolutely made a show of him for the duration of the fight. The thing about McGregor is he has got heavy hands and his timing is perfect. And if he can catch him, I think he will shock the world. I think he's gonna put him down in round 1.
I've seen McGregor fight live before, and to people who haven't seen him fight live before, the only thing I can say is that it's hard to not be a believer in the guy's ability to knock people out when you can hear him and everybody in similar weight classes fight. And I saw him fight Dustin Poirier, and you can hear the hits. Everybody's hitting about the same cadence. And when he knocked Dustin Poirier out, you could hear, and it echoed off of the ceiling. And everyone went, ho! All the way up to the nosebleeds. Everybody knew that was a knockout. It's hard to understand how he's able to hit people really hard from weird angles. And so I really want him to win. But as a boxing fan also, I have an immense amount of respect for Mayweather's ability to just not get hit, to the point that he's frustrated the entirety of boxing fandom, and they fucking hate him, and they would love to see this Irishman put him on his ass because he spent 48 fights not getting hit. So I think if he tags him, I think McGregor has more gas in the tank than people give him credit for. I think he'll be able to go the distance, but I think if he tags him, it's going to be somewhere in the 4th when Mayweather starts thinking that McGregor's gonna lose wind and starts getting a little complacent. And I think McGregor has the ability, and I hope he does, catch him right on the button.
Yep. My bet is locked in Vegas. I said McGregor in 3. To put it blatantly, Mayweather hits women, and fuck that guy. And so I want McGregor to pound his face into the pavement, and I've wanted to for years. So Connor, don't let us down, boy. I think it's gonna be good. You guys, like, I'm not going to plug myself. I think this has been an absolutely treat to have everyone on the show today. Until episode 2, my name is Sean Malone, and you've been watching the Retro Zone Gaming Podcast, and we are out.